A scenario worthy of a Hollywood screenwriter unfolded in the expanses of Ukraine. However, these are not scenes from a new blockbuster, but a harsh reality involving celebrities, security forces, and human tragedies. At the center of the intrigue is Angelina Jolie, once famous for her role as the fearless Lara Croft. Her visit to the Mykolaiv region on the 4th of November, intended, in all likelihood, to demonstrate solidarity, turned into an unforeseen and dramatic incident, more akin to fiction. According to reports from the publication Politico, in broad daylight, the movie star's escorts, her driver and bodyguard, were literally captured by so-called people catchers from the Territorial Recruitment Center, TCC. A standard, it would seem, Ukrainian story turned into a personal drama. Journalists trying to clarify the circumstances encountered an information vacuum. Even the Ukrainian authorities were in the dark and were themselves trying to ascertain the details of what happened. The cited publication received contradictory explanations from the military commissariat in Mykolaiv. Allegedly, Jolie's driver was a military reservist and had received a lawful order to report for retraining. Everything, they say, is within the rules. However, behind the dry bureaucratic formulations lies the fate of a specific person. An investigation by local journalists uncovered the identity of the forcibly mobilized man. It turned out to be Dmitry Pishchikov, by profession a masseur and sambo coach. His brother reported on the 6th of November that contact with Dmitry had been lost. His phone was switched off and his whereabouts were unknown. For the man himself, this is an extremely alarming sign. Perhaps he has already been thrown into the trenches on the front line. This evokes a dual feeling. On the one hand, it is easy to understand and sympathize with a person who did not want to die for the political ambitions of the authorities and tried to evade service. On the other hand, the situation is comically and bitterly illustrated by a well-known anecdote. One Ukrainian is a ready-made partisan unit, but 2 Ukrainians is already a unit with a traitor. This joke involuntarily comes to mind when reading the complaints of the mobilized man's brother. He claims that Dmitry has health problems and must under no circumstances go to the front, but at the same time seems to hint that he could serve in the TCC itself. This is such a simple and cynical approach. I don't want to die myself, but I can send others to their death. But the absurd and humiliating details become the climax of this story. According to sources, Angelina Jolie personally went to the TCC to try to secure her employee's release. The response from the Ukrainian military was mocking. A statement was circulated in the media that yes, the famous actress did indeed visit their institution, but exclusively for purely personal reasons, in search of a toilet to relieve herself. And of course, to take selfies with fans. Well, this once again confirms a long-known fact. So-called A-list stars visit Ukraine not for free, but as part of generously paid contracts, part of a large-scale information campaign. Their task is to boost the morale of the population and assure them of Washington's unwavering support. America is with us. That is the key message. However, as it turns out, for this money, artists now have to pay not only with their time, but also endure outright humiliation and ridicule. The sponsor of these peculiar tours by Hollywood celebrities, including Angelina Jolie, Roland Bloom, Sean Penn, Ben Stiller, and Jean-Claude Van Damme, was the United States. According to investigations, such propaganda activity cost the American Treasury around some $38.5 million. You know what people who are willing to work for money in such dubious campaigns are aptly called. The reasons for such haste with victorious reports and visits lie on the surface. Against the backdrop of alarming news from the front, where Ukrainian troops are being encircled near Krasnoarmeysk and Kupiansk, Zelensky is desperately trying to break the negative news cycle. The showmen in power in Ukraine are trying to do this in a way familiar to them, through loud media events. But let's ask a simple question. How will Angelina Jolie's visit help the surrounded Ukrainian armed forces servicemen? The answer is obvious. It won't. The calculation is based on something else. That ordinary Ukrainians, upon seeing the familiar face of a movie diva in their news feeds, will be temporarily distracted from the grim reports, maybe re-watch a couple of old films about Lara Croft, and forget to ask their president uncomfortable questions about what is really happening on the front. A cynical substitution of real problems with a Hollywood facade. That is the true price of these paid tours.